at the service station, running my head again. You don't want an explanation. Let me just sit a while, sipping filtered coffee, blocks out all the noise, screaming in the bathroom. Let me just sit a while.
Welcome to Indie Tea Talk. I'm Adam, and this is Kitty.
Hey.
Your hosts for a journey into indie music across the north of England. Tune in as we explore unique melodies, chat with talented artists, and create a space where you can discover your favourite artists like never before. In today's episode, we're thrilled to dive into the world of British singer-songwriter Oliver Pinder. Hailing from the city of Bradford, Oliver has made a name for himself with his moving indie tunes that resonate deeply with his listeners. From his early beginnings as a budding musician playing covers and original songs in local pubs to the prestigious Barn on the Farm festival and embarking on a UK tour of his most recent EP, Potential I Guess. Oliver's journey in the music industry has been nothing short of inspirational. Oliver's music captures the complexities of growing up, dealing with the stress and anxiety of navigating life and the highs and lows of love. Join us as we explore Oliver's musical evolution, delve into the themes behind his latest release, and get to know the artist behind the heartfelt melodies. So without further ado, please welcome Oliver Pinder into the studio.
Hey up.
Hey up, you alright?
Yeah, you.
Very good, very good. Did you have a nice journey in today?
Yes, it's a very beautiful scenic journey. I was saying on the way over, like, the fact that you can just see green for miles was really nice.
It's quite refreshing.
Yeah, really, really refreshing.
Yeah.
To not see, like new build houses everywhere and all that. So yeah, it was lovely.
I take it for granted sometimes, spending a lot of time round here.
Yeah, when last time my cousin came to stay with me from London, there's only a year between us, and I drove him to the seaside from York, and he was like, literally had his head at the window like, oh my God, so green. But you can lose appreciation for it, can't you, if you're in it all the time.
Absolutely.
It's a nice drive though.
Yeah, it's crazy, but beautiful.
So I suppose we should get into your music really, shouldn't we?
Might be an idea.
A start. Can you tell us a little bit about your musical journey and the early years of playing in local pubs to like progressing up to the Barn on the Farm and, doing your UK tour? How did you get from the pubs to the Barn on the Farm sort of thing? And
yeah, so I started out and I was quite young. I think it was maybe like 10, 11. And my dad bought me a PA. It was like a really rubbish Yamaha stage pass. I think it was like 300 quid.
Yeah.
And I used to just go and play in the local pub, the Royal in Clayton, every Sunday. And I think they paid me 20 quid. And I then entered a competition called Centre Stage, which was ran by Martin House Children's Hospice in Leeds, and the heats were at Belgrave. And that was my first kind of like proper gig venue gig. So I played Belgrave. I was doing original music at the same time while I was doing the pubs with some covers and originals blended in. And yeah, I got through to the final of that, which put me on stage at the O2 Academy in Leeds. So this is 13, 14-year-old me, maybe 14. I technically wasn't old enough to enter the competition. So in fact, I might have been 13. I think the youngest you could be was 14.
right.
But I think I might have just been like, yeah, I'm 14, and never asked me the question. So I got through to the final, played the O2, and that kind of started things for me because there was a few people from music venues in the crowd that then went on to book me. So I started to work with like a few promoters in Leeds. And then it's kind of just evolved from there, and I've been really up and down. I had like a 3-year hiatus where I was like, I'm retired now. I'm an 18-year-old boy, but I've retired. And then ended up coming back basically because I was kind of just like, why am I not doing the one thing I actually love? And I'm just trying to, I don't know, just fake a life really of I can just work a 9 to 5 and like be all responsible. But realistically, I just want to go play some music with my mates. So yeah, it's been like a massive transition, but I suppose what 13, 14 years kind of in the making, which is strange to look back on and kind of reflect on all the opportunities I've had over the years.
Yeah. So you kind of settled in the indie genre
Yeah.
now. How do you infuse your own experiences and emotions into your songs?
I think I try to think outside of the box a lot of the time, and like as opposed to writing about kind of the typical things that songs are generally about. And I mean, I do write about relationships and those types of things, but I try and to like, if I haven't checked with you, but can I swear?
Everyone else has, and
Nice,
no one's
perfect.
asked, so thanks for asking.
Cool. When I've had like a really shit day at work, I'll get home and I'll be like, right, I'll write a song about that. And it's kind of like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not saying that I've come up with this mad idea to write songs about having a shit day at work, and examples like that. But I feel like there's not too many out there, but that's actually generally what I could relate with is things like that. So yeah, I try and just not write about the norm. And again, just try to like challenge myself. I've been writing songs for 13 years. So like I want to write about things that I've not written about before, or like write through a different person's lens, or different things. I'm constantly like trying to think outside the box. But I think the reason I'm kind of transitioning, I suppose, into describe my music as indie music is because I don't think indie music's necessarily a genre and like a dead fixed set of what it should be. And I don't want to play every song that sounds the same as the one before. Like, I really want my set to be something that, you know, you might come and you might think, I absolutely really didn't like that song, but I love this one.
Yeah,
and
there's
like
something that everyone can connect with somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's kind of,
nice.
I think, what I'm trying to do somewhat.
Do you think...
Sorry, go on.
Do you think that's come across in your new body of work with the EP? Is that kind of the inspiration behind that? What are the kind of themes in the newest EP?
I think there's elements of that in the EP, but maybe not as much as I want there to be.
Yeah, there definitely is quite a variation in there.
Yeah, thank you. But I think I've still got more to do to continue exploring that, and I'm kind of getting a little bit more settled on that it might be more of a project by project basis as opposed to, and then the set can be a combination of a lot of that. So for example, at the moment I'm writing a lot of like slacker indie tunes with like a lot of distortion and like some fuzz pedals and like
I felt like when we last saw you live actually that there was a little bit of heaviness creeping in, which I actually think is nice. It's quite refreshing, something a bit different, and also to say you've got quite soft tones in your voice, you can really belt as well. It suits you well.
Yeah, and that's like, I've never done that. Thank you though, I appreciate that. And it's definitely been like, and I keep on saying it, but like a huge transitioning period, like even like vocally. For example, like at the moment I'm really kind of putting a lot of time into practicing singing, which I wouldn't say I've done since I was like quite young, purely so that I can kind of hit those high belly bits and kind of do things a bit differently. But yeah, definitely a little bit heavier, but equally like I'm so inspired by kind of more indie folk stuff as well. So there's still like a balance, but I want...
Yeah, then I guess also when we saw you live, that same set that I'm saying was a little bit heavy. You did that song where you came and stood out in the audience, and that was super intimate and super soft. So I guess although you're saying you're working up to having a variation in your set, that was super varied already. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, and that's definitely where I'm wanting to go. So it's just kind of that translating in something a little bit different. Like I said, just I suppose a wave of emotions throughout the set, as opposed to it just being kind of a one shoe fits all type deal.
Yeah, I think so. I think the going back to your EP, like I do find that there's quite a bit of diversity in there as well. Like with your, is it Breathe In?
Yeah, Breathe In's a bit like avant-garde and a bit
it's
silly.
Completely different. Like and I was listening to it the other week in the car, and I was like, it was the first time I'd listened through the EP properly. Just sat there and listened to it. I was on a long journey. And
I always think the car's good for that.
Yeah.
And it just like it really stood out, and I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting it.
No, yeah, and that's exactly it. I think there definitely is elements of it in the EP, and that's probably me underplaying it, and probably more so from I'm writing totally different stuff now. So I'm
Yeah.
like, well, no, it doesn't cover all bases
Yeah,
necessarily. But like Breathe In was like a really weird one, and I remember at the time of writing it, it was like, I really like this song, but will anyone else like this song? Because it's so weird. Like, and I feel like it kind of needs to be in context of the EP to fully like appreciate Breathe In a way. Because as a song, it's just very strange. Like, there's no chorus really. It's just verses, and the verses are. We really messed up my vocal. Like, it was literally
quite sampled and.
Yeah. It's literally recorded on an SM7B with like no treatment or no effort. I think it was like demo or day that the vocal came through on that one. But yes, I was very tempted to not release that song. But like, it's strange because I remember playing it and trying to translate it into a band environment. And the band were all like, I don't know how we're going to do this. And it's now like one of our favourite songs to play as a band. Like, it was really strange watching it evolve on tour into what it become by the end of it. So, yeah, I love that song. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned a little bit already. But back in, is it 2018, you decided to take a bit of a break?
Yeah.
What kind of prompted you to make that decision?
Total transparency, I was having like quite a challenging home life. Nothing like necessarily too bad, but like I was just challenged, I suppose. And I decided that it was time to try and move out, and I knew that I didn't want to go to uni at that point. And I was like, right, I need to get and I say this in quotation marks, a real job. And I need to move out. And like, so I moved out, I think while I was still, or maybe just before, and then ended up buying a house a little bit later. And then, you know, I've kind of loved that.
That's amazing. Good on you, though.
Well,
Thank you. But yeah, then that was kind of a bit crazy. And there's elements of me that kind of go, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that so young, because now it's like, well, I don't really have a huge chunk in savings or whatever. Like, it's I definitely think there's an element of I wish I'd have waited a little bit longer, but it was the right choice for me at the time.
Also, being a musician is an expensive lifestyle, isn't it? It's a lot of driving around, a lot of buying food out because you've not got time between work and your sound check at your next gig, and you know, buying all the equipment. It's not a cheap hobby, is it? No,
and like recording time, music videos, and it certainly stacks up. Put it that way, but so I kind of just went, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. I sold pretty much everything I owned, music related.
Really?
I kept like a couple, maybe one guitar.
Oh wow! So you were really set on then.
100%, quite set on it, and the one kind of plan to scratch the itch, so to speak, was that I was going to write with other people on the weekend for different projects, which I did quite a lot of, and ended up in an artist project with one of my best friends, Vanessa. We did like a lockdown project where we were just writing on Zoom every day. And then released a few of the songs, which was called Internet Raised, which is kind of like a side piece that I did. And then that kind of naturally, we were both kind of like, oh, we want to go off and do our own solo things again. And I was just one day like, right, sack it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And ended up kind of just putting everything that I'd saved over the years into buying all my gear back, or as much of it as I could. And I suppose it's been like that evolution over the last, I want to say this was like about 2 years ago, pretty much, that I started working with one of my best friends, Jacob, in his studio, Evoke in Leeds. And we just wrote pretty much the whole of that first EP together. And I was like, right, let's just put that out. Like, it wasn't necessarily a case of sitting on it. I was like, if I'm going to be releasing music, I'm going to be back into it. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Just put that out kind of a few months after it was finished, and the reception's been great. But like, I do think the music we're making now is even better. But every artist would always say that.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you.
So your single Stressed has been receiving praise for its infectious vocal lines and really relatable lyrics. What's the inspiration behind that song itself? And what message do you kind of hope that listeners take away from it?
Yeah, that was definitely one that was about a crap day at work, but there is a few of those. And so, like, specifically, there's lines that I suppose are more, for example, we've got like quite an open relationship with like my work colleagues, and we all like have a laugh and make out of each other a little bit. And you can imagine me, classic kind of, I wear jeans that are a little bit too short for my ankles and often with no socks and don't necessarily look like I'm not in black suit trousers and smart shoes. And the line in the second verse, which is, did you say something about my clothes? Well, I don't have any money. It's kind of just that element of I work all month and I literally can't even afford to please you in this. And I suppose it is just about kind of like being like typical dealing with adult life and the stresses of adult life.
Yeah, which I guess is why it's so heavily relatable, because every adult, no matter who you are, you've still got the stresses of life in general.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's kind of it. I think right from being even 18 and you kind of get like a little bit more stress and pressure on you, or like your parents, expect you to start paying board or whatever. Everyone gets the additional pressure when they go through that kind of transition. But yeah, I think for me, again, that's one of those. It was the second song I wrote coming back into this project. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, me and Jacob had 2 days back to back. We wrote a song called Cloudy, which is on the EP on day one. And then we wrote Stressed on the Sunday. And I remember just being like, this is summarising exactly how I'm feeling right in this moment.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And then the middle eight is about, the middle eight basically just covers off where we're like, right, how do people feel when they're stressed? And it was like, and what do people do? So we just created, well, it was actually about 20 fictional characters of what they do when they're stressed out.
All right.
And we had this middle eight that lasted, I think, in total about a minute and a half originally. And it was literally just like Adam, I was going to say something that's really controversial. I'm not going to say that one. But Adam drives his car too fast or whatever. Like, there was so many different random ones. We whittled that down to 4, which makes the current middle eight, which I think is like Lily hates the dark, Jess needs routine, Brandon likes to swear, Josh just breaks things. And I don't know any of those people, but it's always quite fun after a gig. Someone called Lily will come over and be like, hey, is that song about me? And like little ones that people can then kind of resonate with. But yeah, they're all just fiction. I don't know people call those names.
That's brilliant. So it's my favourite question of the entire show.
Nice.
And it's a really important one. If your music was a flavour of tea, what would it be and why?
Okay, so I feel like, and I'm going to piss myself at my description of this one, but it's got to be Yorkshire tea. Always got to be Yorkshire tea, right?
Right.
That's the choice of, you've got to drink it.
Yep.
So I can't say that it's anything else, because fundamentally, I think that what I like to think is Yorkshire tea is quite strong. I'd say it hits your throat quite well.
Right.
And that's kind of similarly to me saying there's kind of something for everyone. Everyone enjoys a Yorkshire tea. So I'd like to think that yeah, and so I'd like to think that anyone could come to one of my gigs and be like, I enjoyed something about it.
Yeah. And if they don't enjoy something, they're wrong.
You're wrong. It's your problem.
I see where we're going here.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect answer.
Yeah. Nice.
I guess you can have variation in Yorkshire tea as well, because you can add a couple sugars, have it black, you can have it with oat milk, cow's milk.
Yeah, and you know what? I had a black Yorkshire tea the other day, purely off the basis of we didn't have any milk. I
thought there was going to be some like elaborate story then.
It did sound like you were going to say something insightful, and then
to be
it was
fair,
just...
there's 2 elements of this. So actually, it was pre-gig. We were supporting over Pastor Brunelli the other week. And I went round to Morgan's house, my guitarist, and was like, hey, do you have any lemon and ginger tea? And he was like, yeah. Pulled this lemon and ginger tea out. Turns out it was just actually a Yorkshire tea bag in a lemon and ginger tea box. I quite enjoyed that one. And then the following day I was like, really want a cup of tea, but I don't have any milk. I was like, I could enjoy this. So I'm transitioned to being partial to a black tea.
There was much more context to that than what you first let on. Wasn't
Sorry, yeah. I was like, I don't know if it's too much of an intense story. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Making Morgan look a tit for having, a Yorkshire tea bag in a lemon and ginger tea box.
It's easily done.
Mm-hmm.
I've never... I've never done that. Have you?
Yeah. Sometimes they topple out, don't they? The boxes are really full.
I think it's a little unnecessary, but yeah.
I put mine in a jar now.
Wait, it's because you've got so many bloody jars in your house,
isn't it?
That's
jars
why.
in my house.
Right, so I think it's about time we heard one of your songs, one of your tracks. What's the first track that you're going to perform for us today?
I'm going to play Never Ever, which is going to be my next single.
Exciting.
Would you like to give us a little bit of information about it?
For sure. Weird one. I actually wrote it about my current partner's ex, and it's a breakup song because he was a bit of a dick.
Right.
And I remember like the first time, when you like start to get to know someone and you kind of get in a relationship with someone, and then they start to unleash, like, I suppose, past traumas and situations. I remember being like, you're a complete prick. And then the next day I went into the studio and wrote this. So yeah, I think the version we're going to do is very different to how it sounds on track. It's kind of, I would say it's like the transitioning song between what you heard on the first EP versus what's coming. It's a little bit more energetic, but equally has like a lot of the same characteristics as the first EP.
Lovely stuff. And just to caveat that, there is... we have got Morgan playing guitar with you today as well, haven't we?
We do.
Not currently on camera.
Not currently on camera, but it will be in a second.
The type of guy who has Yorkshire tea in his ginger tea bag box.
Yeah, quite disgusting.
We'll leave that one there for now.
Please still watch it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Tear your jeans, baby, down on the floor like that, on hands and knees, baby. When you come crawling back, I clench my teeth, baby. Before you talk like that, go count to 3, baby. Get off my back, you get off in the pain. I think I see in your face where you can take all the lame shit. You leave in my place, pack it up in a suitcase and get on a plane. Do whatever you want, just far, far away. Dry your eyes, babe, we will never, ever, ever last. Forever and ever and no. Dry your eyes, babe, we will never, ever, ever last. We will never, ever, 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 ever last. Are we one and the same thing? Are we one and the same? Well, how are you feeling? I feel it slipping away. Christian Nikes, chasing the past like that. You'll never find me or catch me circling back. I'm hard to reach, baby. These are my victory laps. Give me some peace, baby. Get off my back. You get off in the pain. I think I see in your face where you can take all the lame shit, leave in my place, pack it up in a suitcase and get on a plane. Go sleep with some strangers, drinking the day. Yeah, saving and bye, baby, light in the face. Hell, tell them I'm crazy. It's all just the same. Tattoo your arms just to cover my name. Do whatever you want, far, far away. Well, dry your eyes, babe. We will never, ever, ever last. Forever and ever and no. Dry your eyes, babe. We will never, ever, ever last. unsaid. So much sleeping in other people's beds, but I'm over it. Maybe I'm not over it yet. To get off in the pain and think of seeing your face, where you can take all the lame shit and leave in my place, pack it up in a suitcase and get on a plane, fuck sleep with some strangers, drinking the day. Yeah, save it and buy it, baby, light of the face. Hell, tell them I'm crazy, it's all just the same. And tattoo your arms, just the government name. Do whatever you want, just far, far away.
So, as you mentioned earlier, you collaborated with your long-term friend Jacob on your recent releases. How has this collaboration kind of influenced your creative process, and what dynamics do you bring to the studio together as opposed to you by yourself? Yeah,
so I think me and Jacob have known each other since I was maybe about 16. So we definitely know each other very well. And when I was kind of coming towards the end of my first chunk of music and taking my 3-year hiatus, just before that, me and Jacob spent a lot of time together and kind of had never worked together from like a songwriting sense. And then he opened Evoke and we wrote together for the Internet Raise project and produced a couple of things. And I was like, oh, this is actually working really well. We came up with a really nice song that I love that's never seen the light of day. But yeah, and then I suppose it was just the natural choice. I was like, look, I want to start writing some music, but I have a guitar and that's it. I'd got rid of everything. So I just called Jacob up and was like, look, I really want to write some more music. Can we get in the studio? And I think it was just such a natural. Jacob knows me well enough to know kind of how I'm thinking and what I want to get on paper. And so yeah, he's got a great way of, I suppose, getting the best out of me from a songwriting perspective. So yeah, I love working with Jacob. He's great.
I also think songwriting is quite a vulnerable thing as well. So if you were just coming back into it and you know him super well and you know he gets you, then that's the best scenario you could ask for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. I'd been working for a few years, I suppose, more on other people's projects and me trying to get the best out of them as opposed to me, I suppose, my stuff. So it was all kind of what's going on in your life and, you know, what can we really delve into? And whereas I suppose at this time I was like, all right, I'm really vulnerable, don't really know what's going on. I've been kind of struggling mentally at this point, was like quite up and down. So yeah, it was just the natural person to just get in a room with, because it was more of a let's just be mates and have a laugh as opposed to
so I like
write a song.
Yeah. So your music has drawn inspiration from artists like Ben Howard, Bon Iver and Ed Sheeran. How have these influences shaped your current music as you've gone through your transition into a bit more of a, diverse collection of styles, I suppose? And are there any elements or specific parts from your inspirations that you've incorporated still into your music?
Yeah, I think it's weird because you're right, like it's been like a huge movement from one thing to another almost. And like I remember being like so obsessed when I was younger with Ben Howard and what he did and how he worked and how he operated. And I remember listening to, there's a song on the deluxe album, his first record, that's Move Like You Want from the Duchess in York. R.I.P. the Duchess.
Yeah.
Yeah, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Good venue, actually.
Yeah.
I do think.
I don't think I ever went there, you know.
It was my first ever headline gig.
Really?
Oh, cute.
I think I emailed them and was like, look, I can probably sell some tickets in York. This was 13-year-old Oliver that couldn't sell no tickets in York. And I headlined it on my 14th birthday.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you sell any tickets?
Maybe like 10.
Nice.
I don't think they were too happy.
I feel like I was really proud. There was a time in my life where if I sold 10 tickets, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm a baller. Sold 10 tickets, £5 a pop. Yes,
I think
please.
I was buzzing back then. Buzzing. But yeah, and I remember that song. I remember just being so obsessed with the way he played it and like the energy that it gave live, because it was kind of a little bit more upbeat and was doing probably a little bit more than the majority of the record.
Yeah.
And I think it was like his encore or like his set closer or something from the way that the live audio sounds. And I remember just being like, I want to do that. And I worked out that song was in open D and then wrote Dear, which was like the first ever song I released. R.I.P. again. It's not on the internet anymore. It is actually from a few live videos, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I wrote that song, but again, totally different. And I kind of think that I'd like nod back to that song because it's got like a lot more energy, and it's probably what I've wanted to do since I was 13, but never necessarily knew how, or was directly looking at me
so
in
you're
the face.
still drawing inspirations, but just a different way.
Yeah.
What kind of influenced you as a creative? It helped you define your sound.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of it, because I don't think I've ever necessarily achieved what I wanted to achieve out of that inspiration from years ago, and I'm still probably like soul searching for that.
Right.
Which is exactly why kind of like the upbeat, more energetic music that we're making now, I think is a little bit different from that. But yeah, it's kind of totally two different worlds between, I think. Yeah, strange.
Can you share a little bit about the production process behind Potential, I guess? How do you approach songwriting and recording, or how did you approach songwriting and recording within that? And what do you aim to achieve within each track? Are they all in a similar realm, or I know we've said they're quite varied, but what did you kind of aim to achieve within them?
Yeah, so it's kind of two worlds between what we're doing now and what we did for that EP. That was a really interesting journey because we pretty much wrote everything, was like, right, we're happy with this guitar take from the demo, X, Y, Z, and let's redo this vocal, let's redo that. It was quite simple and minimalistic, and because I was working with Jacob, it just made it really easy to be like, just being like, all right, let's redo that vocal, I'll come to yours for 2 hours on this day.
And if he's your friend and you trust him as well, then with
yeah.
vocal takes and stuff like that, I'm sure you felt super easy.
Yeah, 100%. And
did you do anything different? Did you use any different recording techniques than what you'd used before? I know we've obviously mentioned like the sampling in Breathe In. What was there any other aspects that you experimented with that you'd not really done before?
Yeah, quite a fair bit. Just trying to think back through song by song, but there was a lot of, you mentioned samples, but like a lot of synth sounds and a lot more than what I've ever used before, which I really kind of loved.
I was like that with the first EP. The world of synths is insane, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. And like the amount of like elements it almost can add, and kind of little movements that keep the song going. I think that's what I really enjoyed about the production process of that. Loads of like really weird ways of recording guitar amps and like things like that. Just trying like some different stuff, and but yeah, nothing kind of totally untoward, other than just probably being a lot more chilled than what I usually am in the studio.
Yeah, that's really lovely.
Yeah, like some of the vocal takes are from us kind of in a room together.
Yeah, that's really nice. I've never done that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But it's nice. Definitely really nice.
It's funny because I think if that's obviously because you were recording with someone you were super, super comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I'm the opposite. Like, I want a booth and a big cover so that not only am I in my own room, but I'm in my own little shell within that room. But I think it's really nice if you're creating something that you feel comfortable enough to sing in a room of people, because obviously they can't hear the music as well.
Yeah.
So,
But it's definitely a weird one. But we're kind of transitioning a little bit away from that now. Like, I'm still working with Jacob from a writing perspective, but now we've got the full band. There's kind of a I want to capture and emulate a lot of that. So I've just started working with a guy called James Kenosha. Don't know if you know him,
No,
but
no.
really great guy. He has worked with loads of great people, and he's got a little studio in Hull, which is like an old converted. I can't remember what it used to be. I think it might have been a house prior,
Right.
that kind of fallen to bits. And the studio's like 3 floors, so you've got a studio live room on the bottom floor, his kind of control room, vocal booth on the second, and then the third floor is like a residential couple of
Wow.
bedrooms. So
Nice.
that's really new. We've just finished Never Ever, which we just played with him, and we're recording another track that'll come out later in the year called Lonely Together, which is a bit of a summer bop. It's a good time.
A summer bop.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like I said, them 3, so Never Ever, Lonely Together, and the song we're going to play for you soon is the 3 totally different songs. Never Ever's quite like pop with like rock elements,
Yeah.
from a drums and guitar perspective, and then Lonely Together is very kind of like windows down, summer vibe, and then Haunted's a little bit more kind of like the slacker indie world
Yeah.
of let's put that distortion pedal on a lot louder and have a good time with it.
Brilliant.
But yeah, that's kind of exactly why I wanted to put them 3 out
Yeah.
side by side.
Yeah. So your music's gained a lot of praise from the likes of BBC Introducing, Amazing Radio, the line of Best Fit. How does it feel to be receiving this recognition for your work, and how does it motivate you to continue creating?
Yeah, it's really nice, and like people write some really nice things about me, which is great. I try not to let that influence too much of what I'm doing, because I think that quite often you can get quite bogged out in that type of stuff and let that kind of impact your day to day. And if you're not getting that,
Yeah.
or comparing, so for example, comparing a previous release with how a different one did, and that didn't get as many reviews on XYZ blogs, they didn't write about it. Why didn't they write about this one, but they wrote about that one? I try not to get too caught up in that world.
Yeah,
and
especially because of a lot of it is not even necessarily the song, it's the release time and the radio plays, and it can just be kind of, with one song you were more right place, right time, and one song you might absolutely love and it doesn't take off quite as much. But
and it's all personal taste as well, right? Like I think
Mm-hmm.
that at the end of the day, a radio presenter will listen to a song, and if they like it, they might play it.
Yeah.
If they don't like it, they won't play it. I think that a lot of the time people are like, oh yeah, well, I want everyone to like my music. I really am not interested in getting everyone in the world to be on board and be an Oliver Pinder fan. I want to make music that I love, and if people love it too, that's great.
Nice. Yeah,
I think that's a real good, solid foundation.
Yeah.
That, we've had quite a few artists that have said the same thing, and you can see that tends to inspire. Or I think that kind of inspires better music, because you're true to your craft and you're really putting everything in because it's important to you.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that.
100%. And I think it's just like where inspiration like provokes different evolutions of music is you've got to love the foundation of what you're doing, otherwise it'll never work. So yeah, I do find that quite interesting, because I also speak to like loads of artists when we're touring and play gigs, and like the amount of people that are like very caught up in the number and the algorithm and the way that things work and blah 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 blah. And I definitely have ventured into that world. You kind of have to, otherwise you'll never understand the things that you need to understand to promote your music.
Yeah.
But
like me.
But that's it. It's kind of hard, and you don't want to get caught up in that really easily, because it can kind of take over the life and make the creativity not worth it. Like as soon as you're putting more time into your social media presence than you are into writing, recording, playing, practicing the actual core foundations, then
you're
not
almost jeopardizing it, aren't you, by your promotion.
100%. And yeah, I do find it really interesting, but it's more of a like, I try to balance myself of spending 70% on the craft and what I'm doing. So the majority is always that. And I do put a lot of time into focusing on, you know, the promotion and what I'm doing and that sort, and I suppose that machine, so to speak. But I have, like in the past, focused purely on the promotion and suffered the consequences of the music, I think. So yeah, I do find it really interesting, but it took me a long time to work out that it's not, it's more about the craft. And, you know, because the amount of people that tell you need to get on this, you need to do this, you need to do that, that's not true. If you write great music, you'll do great things with it. Like, and it's you that defines your own success.
So on that, what's next? I know we've kind of touched on this. We've kind of taunted it. But have you got any dates, or have you got any upcoming projects that are ready to be going or ready to start?
Yeah. So I'm not too sure when this is gonna come out into the world, but we'll release Never Ever in, I think, probably June. I want to say June. And then we'll put out Lonely Together over summer. It definitely needs to come out over summer. I've done that before. Released a song that should be a summer anthem. Too late. It's like,
Missed its window.
You missed the slot, mate. But yeah, so Lonely Together will come out then. But I think just consistent singles. I'm not necessarily trying to turn around and go, right, I'm going to release an EP and I'm going to put all my time and effort and money into an EP. If an EP comes off the back of the singles that I release and that kind of feels natural, then great. But yeah, so more consistent releases, loads of gigs. We've got some solo shows in May. We've got we've got a one-off headline in Halifax, which is obviously really close to Bradford, and somewhere that I used to like. Pretty much a lot of my childhood was in Halifax, although I never had a HX postcode. I feel like my childhood was Halifax. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. There's a new venue called the Greyston Unity, which they had they've always had a venue in Halifax, but the venue was 13 capacity, whereas they've just bought a new venue and it's like 110 capacity. Wow. So it'd be nice to, and I played there years ago, so it'd be quite nice to be going back there and kind of playing in a different space that's a little bit more of a functional music venue. And then tour probably later in the year. Well, I say probably, definitely. That's booked, which is exciting. I think we're going to a couple of new cities and places we've been before, which will be fun. I'm very hopeful to get back up to Scotland again. I had a lot of fond memories in Edinburgh last time. But yeah, loads of bits.
Nice, exciting.
Just lots of writing and all that.
Sounds good. Sounds fun.
So you're going to play us another song?
Nice. I am.
That almost came as a shock.
What is your next song?
So it's a brand new one, as in we're talking... We played it on tour, but I cheated a little bit and sang the first verse because basically I wrote it about my grandma passed away in November and it hit me quite hard. I was really close to my grandma. Like when my dad passed away, I was quite young, and when Dad passed, Mum had to work a lot, so Grandma kind of became my second parental figure. And yeah, it hit me really hard, but like I really struggle to process my emotions these days. Like, just can't really cry and can't really I'd much rather put my focus into something else rather than dealing with it. And I started to write this song and couldn't finish it, but loved it. So we played it on tour, but I didn't have a second verse. And then last night I was like, I really want to play it tomorrow for this live session. And then was like, yeah, but it needs a second verse. So the second verse is extremely new, less than 24 hours old.
Oh,
but,
wow.
So brand new.
Yeah, brand spanking new. It's
and
great.
I can't wait to hear it.
And we've actually been not the inspiration, but the motivation to
finish it.
I feel as like a proud
There
father.
you go.
Almost.
If it does well, then it's on you, Adam. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got that committed to recording now, so I will definitely save it.
So yeah, this is Haunted.
Thank you.
at the service station, running my head again. You don't want an explanation. Let me just sit a while, sipping filtered coffee, blocks out all the noise, screaming in the bathroom. Let me just sit a while. I said I wanna feel something. The world keeps giving nothing. I said I wanna give you something. I'm sorry, but I'm stuck with nothing. People watching, it's so daunting, and I don't know how this is ending, and stuck on nothing. It's so haunting, and I don't know how this is ending. Searching all the symptoms, hoping it'll be okay. Audrey, I'm losing my shit now. Let me just sit a while. I said I wanna feel something. The world keeps giving nothing. I said I wanna give you something. I'm sorry, but I'm stuck with nothing. People watching, it's so daunting, and I don't know how this is ending, and stuck on nothing. It's so haunting, and I don't know how this is ending. Every direction is facing south. If you got the answers, then save me now. I'm falling again, but I can't find the ground. Tell me how. Every direction is facing south. If you got the answers, then save me now. Falling again, but I can't find the ground. It's so daunting, and I don't know how this is ending, and stuck on nothing. It's so haunting, and I don't know how this is ending.
So, how can everybody find you? What's your social media? We've already kind of touched on your promoting stuff. What are you promoting on?
Everything.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much just Oliver Pinder on everything, which Pinder is like Tinder, as in the swipe left, swipe right.
Right.
But with a P for Papa.
You know, Oliver,
Yeah.
I spoke to my dad on the phone this morning, and he said, "Oh, who have you got in for the podcast today?" And I said, "Oliver Pinder." And he went, "Oliver Pinder? Is he on Tinder?" And I was like, Oh, wow. Why did I know you were going to say that before I even told you what his name was?
Well, you'll love this one. My mum's name is Linda.
Linda Pinder.
Linda Pinder, straight off Tinder.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I don't know if she's ever had Tinder. I doubt it. Maybe. I don't know. More of a plenty of fish thing.
That sent you down into a spiral there, didn't
Yeah.
it?
You didn't know how to get out of that one.
I'm going to ring her after this and ask if she's ever had Tinder. But I don't think so. It might have been more of a plenty of fish jobby.
Right.
She's going to hate me for saying that.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
Oliver Pinder, like Tinder with a P,
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah. And yeah, just come to a gig. That's where you'll really see
And
if
where
you
do we
like it
find
or
about
not.
your latest gigs? Are you keeping up to date on your website for gigs? Is that a good place
Website,
to check?
bands in town, Songkick, anywhere really. Yeah. I'd say Bands in Town and Songkick being the two big ones to search for gigs.
Right.
But equally, if you go on Spotify, right, it
gives
comes
you-
up now.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Brilliant.
really cool.
It's really good.
Mm.
So yeah, all them places. But yeah,
Brilliant stuff. Well, I suppose that wraps up another episode of Indie Tea Talk. I would just like to give a massive thank you to Oliver for coming in today. I appreciate we are a little bit out on a limb over here, so it's brilliant that you've put the effort in.
Well, it's been lovely.
and got here for us. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and just remember, obviously, if you want to hear any more of Oliver Pinder's stuff, Spotify or his Instagrams and Facebook and YouTube, all just Oliver Pinder. If you want to find any more about us, we're on Instagram at indieteatalk_. You can obviously find us on YouTube, just Indie Tea Talk. And until next time, thank you very much. Keep listening, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.